before putting your hands on any set of keys, whether it be like a keyboard or like a piano.
Yeah. People
sit in front of a computer.
Stretch their fingers, loosen them up.
This is where we're just a few years prior to the AI needed to do that, because I don't think natural language can quite get that video description. But I want to say, hey, make a video montage of every time in a movie or TV show a person cracks their knuckles before sitting down to a computer or a piano.
Yeah. Technology's going to get there someday.
Well, it's there now because Meta is actually creating some issues by blowing up the open source YouTube downloader scraper library, because they're clearly doing a bunch of video training. But that also means that for those of us who may or may not be doing that on a much smaller level are now going to have to move more quickly, because YouTube's going to get wise to that more quickly. First world web problems.
What are we drinking tonight?
We are drinking Kirkland's signature port drink. It was either that or Hershey's zero sugar syrup.
Or water.
Are you out of your mind?
Like out of the toilet?
That was why did I not go there? I'm ashamed to have missed that.
So you're accusing the Facebook people of stealing all of Google's videos.
It's beyond accusing. I know that they are.
You saw them do it. You seen it.
I had seen it.
Oh, okay. They're
NVIDIA's
just going
doing something similar.
Who is?
NVIDIA.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, they're the chip people.
Yeah, they're the ones who will win regardless of which AI model wins.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Jerod and Sonny's Tech Update Minute, bringing you all the headlines, AI, chips.
What is your favorite open source model?
Probably VCRs.
Are those open source?
I mean, I can put it...
does Philips send you a schematic with each one?
I can record all the syndicated episodes of The Simpsons, and then I can put two VCRs together and cut out all the commercials, and then sort of build my own library of every Simpsons episode. And then a year later, they can start putting them all out on DVD. That's what happened to me.
We had similar experiences.
I had a nice little library, and then they came out with much better versions of what I was putting together.
You never know which one is going to be in vain, but I'm now glad that I did that for Briscoe County Jr., because I'm still waiting. Man, if I had only known that the second season of Pete and Pete was just never going to come out, I would have, manned the VCR a little better back then. Oh, let this not devolve into a conversation about pan and scan. But there are VCR tapes in the second half of this minute.
Yeah, Harry says VCRs in his little list of all the nice things in Kevin's home. And that was my smooth transition.
And we should probably just cut all that out then.
My smooth transition?
No, use the smooth transition and make it super smooth into whatever you would say after that.
Okay. I'll do whatever you just said.
We could also benefit from the fact that I misspoke and said VCR tapes instead of the actual format, which is VHS.
With time, we'll all forgive you.
I'll never forgive myself, though.
I mean, as long as you acknowledge your wrongdoing and commit to change, I got your back.
Oh, it won't be change. It'll be cash hoards.
Oh, okay. Very G.
The silver tuna. Would you like to do a rundown on this minute?
I can try. Yeah. I think where we left off. No, wait.
Do or do not.
I'm going to do. Thank you, Yoda. At the end of the previous minute. Oh, we're on minute 29?
That's what they say.
Okay. I'm very ill, by the way. So,
for those of you who think I got a new co-host, this is the same Sonny you know and love. This is the award-winning screenwriter, Sonny Harding, but he's a bit under the weather.
Yeah, we have our first co-host, our first guest, and it's COVID-19.
It's only 5 years late.
Is it still 19 or is it a different COVID now? It
would be different because you probably have a vaccine escaped variant, but it's a variant of that same disease. So yeah, it's still COVID-19.
Let's see. Minute 29, where we last left off, we've got Harry and Marv in the van. Harry's giving Marv the rundown of all the automatic timers he's tracked down for all these houses that are out of town. And then they land on the McCallister home. It's the silver tuna. They go down a list of all the great things it probably has inside. Very excited. Crowbars up. And then we cut to inside. The Grinch is stealing Christmas on the TV. There are snacks. Pans over, and Kevin's asleep in the chair. Minute over.
I have 2 words to describe that summary. Very G.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. I think my daughter's coming in. Yes. Hi, Lola.
Your very own silver tuna.
Hi. Hey, hi, Jerod.
Hi, Lola.
Hi, Jerod.
Hi, Dad.
How are you?
Hi, Dad.
Jared. You tell him good night.
Good night.
Say
Good night, Lola.
My small child awake at 11 p.m. Don't worry about it. It's cool. I'm a good dad. We're parenting.
I wouldn't say you're a good dad. I would say you're a great dad.
I'm just going to keep that first half and keep it as fuel.
Just a little clip of Atlanta Bread Company.
I wouldn't say you're a good dad. It's my little Uncle Frank hearing it 2 different ways. You had 2 words to... yeah, very G. Very G.
So that moment, the very G silver tuna moment, they both go into this place of, it's not jive, it's not gibberish, because like they're saying things that are adjacent to language we would use.
Criminal talk. It's some unexpected slang.
It goes to the extreme for just a moment. Very
G. It just doesn't seem like Joe Pesci would be saying that. Or Daniel Stern.
Yeah.
He says it first, right?
Yeah. Daniel Stern, he's the one saying very G. And Joe Pesci is the one who announces the silver tuna 671. That's the one, Marv.
He says his full name here, which is something that I didn't really pick up till a closer inspection. He calls him Marvin here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the only time he's called Marvin in the movie. We get the full government name.
Wait, when does he say it?
That's the one, Marvin. Do we need to go to the videotape?
Is it not that's the one, Marv and?
Oh my goodness. Let's find out. Hold on. Listeners, you're probably going to hear an edit as Jerod and I get to the bottom of whether or not Harry calls Marvin, or Marv. Listeners, we're back from me being right and Jerod being wrong. Despite my COVID-shrouded brain, I managed to best my partner with a slightly more aware observation of this minute of Home Alone. I don't want to go ahead and dish out the unsung hero of the minute, but it might be me.
I think you're the one to beat, if nothing else.
And I think this is the only time that he's called Marvin. It didn't even occur to me until a careful rewatch earlier today that Marv is, of course, short for Marvin. What else would it be short for?
Marvolumu.
Marvabeth.
Marver.
Marvathy. Marvs.
Or like William.
Marvis. Marvium.
In the UK, it's Marvinium.
It's a good joke for one person who won't listen to this.
I think there are a handful of people who would be aware of that phenomenon.
Yeah. I haven't checked in on our listeners across the pond in a while. I wonder where the thumbtacks are landing if we look up where the downloads are coming from.
They can tell us themselves by sending us an email. In fact, they can send us a very Gmail.
I like it. I like it very much.
What is our very Gmail?
It's the Home Alone Minute at gmail.com.
You're going to have to edit this out as well because I'm looking to see if verygmail.com is taken. Doesn't appear to be.
But can we get very at gmail.com?
No, that's taken. Everything, I think 6 characters. And
oh, wow.
I won't register right now, but I'm going to check.
Can verygmail.com redirect to the Home Alone's website?
It's not taken. I'm registering it today.
It's fun to see what gets you excited. Like an unparked domain name that's never made me this thrilled.
We're talking about verygmail.com. Do you not want that to be your email address?
Sonny@verygmail.com. I do kind of like it.
I'm setting up that forward. Yeah, I'll set up an SMTP server tomorrow morning.
These letters mean nothing to me.
An email server.
Thanks. Okay, so server. What is that?
Well,
don't care. Actually, don't explain it to me. You know what else I tried to look up and had very little luck in understanding what it really meant was odd marketable securities.
Okay.
It's been a good 15 minutes online trying to understand and trying to see whether or not this is a reasonable thing for Harry to be excited about stealing or not. And I have some ideas, but I just don't know if I know anything.
Well, there are a couple of ways you could interpret it, because his overconfidence in what he knows or what he says could speak to that. But actually, before I say anything, what did your research produce?
Odd marketable securities are things that are a little harder to sell. So they might be like treasury bonds. They might be like shares in companies that aren't publicly traded, stuff like that.
So
that's about as far as I got. I didn't really understand.
Well, some portion of those are difficult to sell, right? So if you have private shares, that would be difficult. But a lot of bonds are pretty easy to liquidate.
Those are just sheets of paper, right? You can go take them to a bank.
Right. Odd marketable securities, we're talking about like an umbrella of things. And some of those, again, like private shares and whatnot, maybe not the best, but, if he has a hookup for people who buy those sorts of things, that's great. But the bonds and things are pretty easy to liquidate. And that's something that people keep in their safes at their home.
And that's what Harry's kind of counting on, is that there's some sort of safe in here, and he's going to open it up. There's going to be valuable paperwork.
In addition to cash hoards. So he's basically saying they are not only liquid, but they have things that can easily become liquid as well.
And Marv is excited about the possibility of
toys.
He doesn't have a lot of lines, but lets us know who he is, what's important to him.
He makes it count. And just to follow up from what I actually don't know if it made cut or not, but his book is now available on Audible.
Oh, lovely.
The book came out, I don't know, some time ago, but it's now on Audible.
Have
for
you
your listening pleasure?
Started it yet?
I have not. I have purchased it and added it to my library. It is now downloaded, so if I lose connectivity, I will be able to start it anywhere.
Home and Alone by Daniel Stern.
Very excited.
I call him Dan most of the time. Just once I call him Daniel.
Danon?
Danon Stern.
Dan short for
Danvin.
So the crowbar cheersing, is that a scripted event?
Oh my goodness. You caught me. You caught me with the script not open.
I feel like we've had a couple of episodes without, so I'm just trying to, and I'm saying that just from my point of view. You likely have it at the ready, but...
You know what is pretty significant about this scene is that in the script that I have access to, at least, it shows up earlier. So the first time in the script that we see Harry and Marv in a van is right after Kevin says, "I made my family disappear."
So this is supposed to be happening in the morning?
It says day. Yes, it says day on the script. But it goes a little bit differently. Yeah, they're a little wittier in this version. Harry does say 5 families gone on 1 block alone, and they told me from their own mouths. Marv says it's almost too easy. And then Harry says, "Remember the old days, Marv, when everybody stayed home for the holidays?" And then Marv says, "Now it's off to Hawaii, Aspen, Paris. Whatever happened to just sitting around the fireplace with your family, roasting chestnuts, singing Christmas carols?" And Harry says people have become too cynical, too jaded, just another sign of ongoing moral decay of contemporary society. That doesn't sound like the Harry we know, does it? Marv says, "Yeah, so which house you want to hit first?" In like a nice little comedic twist of what they're going after.
I can hear the Goodfellas Joe Pesci rattling that off, actually.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like Harry to me, though.
It doesn't. It sounds like something that Joe Pesci could do quite well, but not quite the Harry, right?
And then we get like a little bit like of Kevin is yelling for everybody and he's hungry. He's like looking around, like waiting for someone to feed him. And he has a weird line that isn't in the movie. Kevin's in the kitchen standing before the open refrigerator. Kevin says, "I don't remember the food groups." Which I totally get why they maybe cut that line. And then I think we've talked about this like family video that he watches. Have we discussed that on the podcast?
It doesn't sound familiar, but maybe we have.
There's like this deleted scene, or I guess I would assume that they never even produced it.
Oh, right. That was sort of making him miss his family.
Almost the opposite. This is what makes him happy that he made his family disappear, because it's like this family vacation video where everybody's ganging up on him and his family's not getting along, and he cuts it off and he's happy that he's not with his family anymore. So that kind of all got replaced by the floating heads reminding him of all the mean things they said to him. In this screenplay, we see Harry and Marv in this van before he jumps on a bed with a bag of popcorn, before he goes into Buzz's room, all that stuff. Like
before he has a massive sundae.
Crowbars Up, not in the script, to answer the question you originally asked, and I droned on for a while.
I enjoyed that, and it seems to be one of many pragmatic takes of just merging.
Yeah, it's just they made it more efficient. They made it a little more economical.
Consolidated.
I would imagine that the Crowbars Up thing is maybe just the chemistry of Joe Pesci and Dan Stern. Because isn't the word that they hired Daniel Stern, then they tried to use somebody else, and then it wasn't working, so they got him back, and he and Joe Pesci had a rapport.
There is something to that, and I think it may be mentioned in the book that you and I will both listen to. But the listeners won't have this context, but prior to recording, we were talking about distribution along a probability curve, and the probability of someone getting a role in Home Alone, walking away because of some conflict, some guy coming in and doing a bad enough job that you actually can come back in again and do it, and then have the role of a lifetime. The odds of that can be rattled off by C-3PO talking about navigating an asteroid field.
He does seem able to calculate odds of very specific situations better than most robots, droids. Sorry. Almost got some emails there.
Can you imagine the very Gmail campaign from a bunch of droids? I love their chemistry. I know we're only just starting to see it, but
I think the Crowbars Up moment is a perfect place to bring it up, because it's not in the screenplay. Very likely that they came up with it together. It does show that these two guys have some sort of bond. They've been doing this long enough together that they have a little ritual installed into it. It's not the first time they're saying crowbars up, clanking them together. Is burgling a home a two crowbar job?
Many crowbars make light work.
You're right. Right.
Should we go in through the front or the back?
Why not both? Got two crowbars. It's that kind of investment in your business that pays dividends over time.
It's synergy. They're more than the sum of their parts. You can do more with two crowbars than just double the amount of one crowbar.
It's true. Now you've got two quick exits in case law enforcement arrives or a member of the household wakes up and turns all the lights on. Two quick avenues of egress. Okay, I buy it.
And even for less considered approaches, let's say a smash and grab, if two of you can smash, two of you can grab.
See, this is where I question the process, because we'll see later Marv's attempts at gathering goods with the crowbar, and it's just not an efficient tool for swiping items into your sack. So if you've got one hand always encumbered by the crowbar, that's one less hand
and the other hand's given a peace sign.
That's true. That's true. what it all comes down to is efficiency. If I've got one hand with the crowbar, how am I grabbing the very fine jewelry and holding a sack at the same time?
Carpenter jeans?
Okay. I would like it if Harry and Marv had like a Final Fantasy character style, like crowbar holder on their back. So the crowbar, like, is hanging like diagonally across their back, like a Legend of Zelda sword or something. That's what I would do.
See, now I feel silly for suggesting the mere hammer loop of a carpenter jean.
Okay. I'll entertain it for a moment, but a crowbar is very long.
Might be an issue for Harry.
Even Marv, that thing's gonna be clanking around and like banging your shins the whole time.
I don't think you're keeping it there when you're walking. I think you're keeping it there when you have posted up in a place and need to be dexterous.
When you need your two hands.
Right.
To unplug the VCR, pull it out
to swipe things from a shelf into your bag.
Yeah. Crack a safe full of cash hoards and odd marketable securities. Like, you know what those are, Harry.
Crowbars aren't that heavy, though, so they can go under the arm as well.
Have you ever used a crowbar?
Yeah.
For what?
I dare not say. It's about 2/3 the amount of metal in like a tire iron.
I like the idea of episode 29 of the Home Alone Minute being Exhibit A.
Oh, we're well past the
statute of limitations of whatever you did with a crowbar.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Fully aged out.
Okay. But just for the sake of your reputation, you'd rather not say what you did with a crowbar,
and for the feelings of others. There are cascading effects, you see.
Okay, fair. I don't think I've ever used a crowbar.
Have you ever used a tire iron?
Yeah.
Would you say that you feel comfortable tucking a tire iron under your arm?
Comfortable? Yeah, no, I think it would get in the way. If I'm trying to do other stuff, I would just put it down. And if I had a partner in my enterprise and we were both walking in with a tire iron, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe only one of us needs this.
It's a more awkward tool than a crowbar, but I just meant weight-wise.
Yeah.
Tire iron is bulkier, but it's got a lot of utility. Like, there are no perfect solutions. It's all compromise, right? So going in there empty-handed, I don't really see as an option. What are we Googling?
I'm embarrassed to say.
We are all allowed to pass here, so let's just...
Okay. Why do they call it a crowbar?
Oh, is this a joke?
No, this is what I actually Googled. It's not a riddle.
You're like a cow with no legs?
The good people at verygmail.com are telling me that it may have originated from the tool's resemblance to a crow's beak or feet, particularly the split beak that can look like a crow's foot. Beak, foot. You know how your mouth and foot look pretty much like the same thing? The name also comes from the old French word cros, C-R-O-S, which means hooks, which is a much more reasonable explanation if you ask me. It's a hooked bar.
How much would I have to pay you to find a middle-aged woman in your friend group?
$50. Oh, sorry, go on.
Point to her face and say, you're beginning to get some crow's beaks.
You know, because they look like the feet. The beak does.
Because it's not bad enough that you're saying what you're saying, which is terrible. But you're then having to explain something that you do not believe, which is that those are interchangeable.
Another term is an iron crow. Iron Crows Up, which shows up in a play that I think I've brought up a couple times on the podcast, Romeo and Juliet. Friar Lawrence asked for an iron crow to get inside Juliet's tomb to wake her up. The more you know. These are the things that interest me. I don't know anything about AI, but I do like words used in Shakespeare plays.
Here's the secret. No one knows anything about AI. While proportionately, I think this is a 70-30 split minute.
Oh, yeah. If not a little more than that.
So I think we're okay, but I'd even take that a step further and say the second portion of this minute is still really only a lead up to what I feel pretty confident is going to be the meat of the minute next week.
Sure. We do get, when we go inside the McCallister home, we get The Grinch Stealing Christmas, the second Christmas movie being watched in universe by Kevin.
I do wonder about the licensing around that. I assume it's because of whatever studio owns whatever rights, but...
Now, not a lot of people know that Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a fictional tale that was made for Home Alone. Just a cartoon that they had produced for the sake of Home Alone. It looks like it would be something that you had watched, but it's actually a fictional movie, just like Angels with Filthy Souls. Not many people know that. A little trivia for you, Jerod.
I think I just had late onset COVID just now.
Oh, did I give it to you over the internet?
Yeah, because I feel crazy right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry to best you once again with my Home Alone knowledge. You know, Harry calls him Marvin, and The Grinch is a fictional story that only exists in this movie.
Oh, here's some... I'm not going to say real trivia, because what you said is also 100% factual. It's pronounced Seuss.
What is?
The Doctor.
Dr. Seuss. Okay, I'll take it.
I learned that at a gallery that was showing a bunch of his art.
Like someone called him Seuss?
No, like that's how that name is pronounced.
According to whom?
Him.
Wow.
There was some kind of rhyme that he wrote down.
That suggested that it was Seuss, not Seuss?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you also know that Pepsi was a fictional company until... I do appreciate this episode being like a stamp on my physical health. Like if I slide off to death, there was this episode to go like, yeah, he was doing pretty bad. Yeah, there were signs. It wasn't quite the same after that.
The same thing could be said of M. Night Shyamalan. Signs, never the same after that. When reviewing this pan where we see the sled and the
great pan
outdoor clothes,
yeah,
it can feel a little overdone, but when you're just watching the movie, it doesn't.
I think I understand what you're saying. Like if you're closely inspecting it the way we are, we can find fault that it's a little too stagey, it's a little too orchestrated.
Right.
Here's the Grinch, here's the sled, here's the coat and hat, here's all the junk food, here's Kevin. It's all a little too conveniently
it's a straight
composed
line. Like
yeah.
It's not,
yeah,
it doesn't zig, it doesn't zag, it just goes straight
yeah, the
through.
composition of it all is a little too convenient. But you're right.
It works.
If you're watching the movie for only the 20th time, you don't even question it. It's only on viewing 290 or whatever you and I are at, where we're like, okay, but I like it. It sort of shows us his day, and we are still in this wish fulfillment. Kevin's got what he asked for, and it's a good thing stage of the movie where we get to see that he's had a fun day. And what kid didn't want to just fall asleep in his clothes in front of the TV every night?
I mean, well, so first of all, you're right. I think we just get up to him at the end of the
yes. Minute 29 is over, and like I don't even think we're done panning yet, but we do see Kevin asleep in the chair.
So another interesting thing about how this movie is dated, to piggyback on your trivia around Pepsi, the fictional cola brand.
Yeah, we all know this.
This was also before Turtles existed, because you'll notice the 6-pack plastic rings.
Yeah.
Just out and about for any beach to gladly accept, which was fine because Turtles didn't exist. So nothing would get caught in it. But
the one Pepsi.
But because they wanted to sell toys, they came out with Turtles.
And then gave them swords.
So that they could cut the rings open.
You might be onto something, Jerod, in that both Home Alone and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sort of invented in Chicago.
A fictional city. Like Atlantis.
Not many people know that Chicago is a fictional town, much like a Springfield.
Ah,
Or,
there's a Chicago in every state.
or Castle Rock, Maine, whatever Stephen King uses or whatever. And
Oh, I thought it was Cast La Rock.
no. And yeah, so it's just the John Hughes-averse town. And people are always like, oh, I want to see that town where Ferris Bueller takes place. It's like, yeah, sorry, that was Toronto. Just looks like fictional. It looks like a real city.
Well, it is, because Toronto is a real city, but it's made to look like Da Bears.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jerod, if I make it to next week, it'll be minute 30. We'll be a half hour into this film.
That crept up on me.
Yeah, isn't that neat? How should we commemorate it? Should we celebrate in some manner?
Short answer is yes, but I don't like to respond without actually having a proposed solution. And I'm having a hard time thinking about something that is commensurate with the level of celebration needed.
To be a half hour into this film?
Just shy of a third.
Yeah, well.
Something to ponder during your fever dreams.
Yes, I'll sweat over it tonight.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Blech.